Nothing goes to waste. Nothing goes to waste. Hey, good morning, folks. This is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Welcome back to another day in my 2020 beekeeping season. We're going all the way from winter through to the next fall here in my hobby operation in southeast Louisiana. And I want to be sure everybody knows I'm not out here making a how-to video. I say that on every one of mine, and there's a reason I say it. I'm just an 8-year beekeeper still trying to figure it out myself. Well, guys, today it's going to be pretty much like, let's see, about 1 or 2 videos ago where I took honey off of one hive. I'm just going to go out today and use fume boards and a small blower to clean out some supers and strip supers off. So we went through the hives 2 weeks ago, and the majority of everything was capped. And remember, I take 90% capped. That's my goal. If I have to do a little less, I will, but I like most of it all to be capped. So with all the rain we've had since then, I am not so sure that some of those will be capped that weren't. So we'll just look. I go through my supers. I pull a couple random frames where I know they usually don't, the last frame's the cap, which are your outside ones, and then I usually pull a middle one if I'm over a brood box to see if how much brood I may have in it. By this time of year, mostly I don't. And then I fume it, take it, and go to the next one. So let me address that real quick. Is robbing. We're at a point where it's not terrible right now. Robbing isn't yet. There's still just a little wild elderberry. There's still, believe it or not, there's actually some clover. I don't know how that's surviving some of the heat, but maybe it's the massive amount of rain we got. But not much of that. But most everything is almost dwindled down. And the way we do it here is at least in my area, is I see we get the tallow flow, then it winds off of that, and then boom, it's like a light switch. Robbing begins. Haven't seen that too prevalent this year, but then again, this year has been a very different year with the flow. It's been a great flow. So what we're doing is the way our flow works is we have one big flow. After the privet, we have the big tallow flow, and then it winds down and shuts down. It shuts down. And I tell you, robbing is a mess at that point. Like, it doesn't take long. What I have found here in my yard is if I can get in them usually before 10 or 11 a.m., I'm usually safe. It'll begin to ramp up a little bit. The only other time you can really get in them, and it's not too bad, is around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but that's brutal. That's brutal to do, especially if your hives are out in the sun. So if I can get in them before around 10, I usually don't have a problem. The downfall with getting them in the morning is if we get in them then and they do start robbing on you, they got all day to attack that hive. Evening's not too bad, but it's bad because if you open it up, it doesn't take long. But the good thing about evening, on the flip side, is they don't have that much longer to rob. Now, they will come back the next day, but it gives the hive a chance to regroup. It gives you a chance to get that hive closed up and hope that you can stave it off. On a weak hive, it's rarely successful. They usually come back. If they don't come back that next morning, they'll be back that next afternoon. So that's always a concern this time of year, but again, we're just out of the tallow flow, and we try to move quick and get them off, get them covered up on the trailer, keep it quick and easy and in and out of the yard, and it should be fine. So I've got to get going and do that. That's the plan today, guys. Should be a pretty simple video. You've seen it before, but I'll explain a few things as I'm going through, just for those new viewers that haven't watched those videos, and tell you what I'm doing. All right, guys, let's get going. All right, guys, we're out in the bee yard, and I'm in my back part of it. And, well, the bad thing is we don't have a lot of supers to pull because of some swarming situations. But the good news is we don't have a lot of supers to pull, so it should be done quick. Once we get all these down and condensed, they'll be set. That's where we want them, is condensed into their brood chambers for the summer. They can maintain, they're compact that way, they can maintain the chamber, they can maintain the pests, and when all this is said and done, I'll come back when I do my assessments on everything, and as I open up, I'll be putting beetle blasters in and things of that nature, as far as assessments, where they're at with pests, make sure they have beetle blasters, seeing what their population is like, see if they're queen right. Let's get busy. Let's see what we can do. I'm gonna just start fuming and checking. A lot of people ask me what I use. I use Honey Bandit. You can use any of them. All of them work. It's just the one I started using and keep on using. And I'm gonna go heavy on it because we got no sunshine, and these don't work that great in the sun anyway. I would personally, I wouldn't buy these with the plastic. That's just me. I wouldn't do them again. I'd get metal tops. Now I got a lot of smoke lit up because I got a good heavy smoke coming because I don't know what these bees are going to be like. And I'm going extra heavy on this stuff, so let's get this on. So what we got here is a single brood chamber with 2 supers, and this is the honey super I put on so it could maybe maintain it for me. I don't know if it's all the way capped. It is cross combed. This is that comb honey super, and it is cross combed, so I can't pull the frames to see. I can only glance in it, and I'll show y'all later how I'll remedy that as far as salvaging what I can out of it. I've had 5 years of doing comb honey, and this is the second time I've had them cross comb it. Again, everything was spaced. Everything was spaced fine. It's in a 10 frame box with 10 frames, and it was done right as far as that side of it, but just for some reason they cross combed it. It's happened before one other time, but not the end of the world. I'll salvage what I can and make chunk honey out of it. It's always selling. But I'm pouring a lot of smoke to them, guys. Don't know what kind of mood they're gonna be in. There's beetles. See the beetles? And let's fume them first. Let's get them on down first. This one's gonna be tough to get them on down because it is a single. See how well they babysat my honey. My comb honey. Oh yeah, they're up in it. Let's take a look at this nuke box. Again, I said I'm going to take a box off top of it, and I feel confident in that. I'm not one that picks through my brood boxes and robs them. I've had to become very disciplined in knowing that even if it's a short year, don't take anything from the brood chamber. In the long run, you keep plenty of stores for your bees. Now, if you're a person that's selling tons of honey, sure, take from your brood chamber, but you better feed them back. Sugar is cheaper than honey, but I'm a hobbyist. I'm not there. So this one is going to be done a little different. Oh yeah. I'm not going to blow them. They're acting pretty good. Let's see what's in here. Probably only going to take 3 out of this. Yeah, that one's no good. Oops, I don't want to knock any bees off. They only got one side on that. You can see they had a brood nest all the way up in the top. See right here. Come on out of there. Yeah. That's a nice one. What I want to do. I don't want to break too much honey loose. Take this box off real quick. Put it out of the way. Got it on a. I want to make sure these guys got enough honey before I rob any honey from them. They've backfilled that one. Yeah, look at there. And they're all emerging already. They got a rainbow of honey on top. No, it's not such a good queen, is it? Huh, I wonder if they requeened. I had a good solid pattern of brood in here at one time. I didn't pay much mind to them. I just took what I needed from them. I didn't take a queen though. I don't see any old cells. That's fine. So we're gonna have to. She's not ideal, but we're too late in the season to worry with that. what we got to know is that we got to hope that they get on through. So we're actually going to leave some honey in here for them. I'm going to get my new box. The other box is cracked up front. I'm going to end up leaving the top deep on them with plenty of honey. They're going to have plenty of honey for the size that they are. Yeah, I didn't. Let's take a look. I think I looked at these last week. I'm double checking because I see some that's uncapped. All right, so it'll be a little wet. That's why I pull in July. That's why I pull in July. But I want to get it done because of the situation at hand. And that little bit is not going to hurt when you've got frames like that. It's just there's no. I'm figuring the ones that weren't capped are still not capped because it is darn wet and humid out. To make sure we get. Oh, it's heavy now. It. That's just less we got to carry into the shed with us that get trapped. And check this next one. This is how they cross combed it, guys. Yeah, see, a lot of it's not capped, but see, like this is stuck together. I'll flip this box upside down, clear this off the sides, and pull the box back off of it. It'll be pulled back off of it. And then I can go in and salvage pieces like that. I can get comb honey out of that. I can get it out of that. But it's not going to be real pretty comb honey. So most of this will go into chunk honey. But you see, this isn't capped. So that's not what we want. So what I'll do is I'll leave this on. And I'll probably just leave it right on this hive. It gives them space. And that way, they'll go ahead and cap it. Whatever's not capped in mid-July is cured anyway. And there's honey you'll see in frames sometimes that are cured, even though it's not capped. It'll be that hazy color or a hazy film over it. It looks almost dry. It's got a queen excluder, guys. This is one of my experiments. Single brood chamber with a queen excluder. That's this one right here. And it worked. It was strong. Now I had one on the other side of the fence that did not work. I'm sure it's a management issue with me, but I might try that a little bit more next year. I look in there and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 cap frames. Yeah, and they're stirred. I've got stings all in my gloves. And they're all in my veil. got one here. They're sticking my hands left and right. Yeah, bad weather, bad day. Let's take a look and see what they got since we're in here. This is a 9-frame box, so I don't have to pull an extra frame. See, we got one frame, and it's not that heavy. Next to it's not capped. So I tell you what, I'm gonna pull 2 more. This one, yeah, see? Yeah, let's pull this one. These are ones I consolidated. Yep. We're gonna leave this, let them fill it in the fall, and if it's full, I'll swap this out with some other honey that they can have to eat for the winter, and we'll take this. But we're gonna leave them alone. They're mad. So here's another box. I just been fume boarding it for a while, and I didn't want no robbing to start, so I put the box that didn't have much comb in it, much honey, on top of the fume board, and then the fume board over here. What we have is partially capped, partially filled frames right here. So again, what I'll do, same thing as the other one, I'm gonna leave it on and through the fall. I got about 25 frames of capped medium frame honey sitting in there that I can dispose of. I can either scrape it and feed it to them that way, or put it in over winter. I'll put it in over winter if I need to. So all right, hold your ears. Let's get this stacked. Oh. Alright guys, well, I'm gonna get some fume boards on these, and then I'm gonna talk to you about something, different ways that have been suggested to me, ways that I can do it, ways that I've done it, and let you know how I feel about certain methods and why I do what I do. Alright, let me get these off, or started fuming, and then we'll talk about that. That's what you want them to look like. Get more bang for your buck. So I'm gonna take a seat real quick and tell you what I'm doing, why I do it. So I'm using fume boards. Those are Man Lake fume boards. I don't like them that much. I've got 2 of them. I'd rather have metal top ones, and I will be buying some of those another time. But I like the fume board. And yeah, you say, well, you're sitting here waiting. Yeah, I am. But I don't mind the weight on the fume boards. And then I use a blower just to knock out a few residual bees. This just keeps them out of my honey house. And it's not a lot of bees that go in there, but knock a dozen out each hive. That helps. So that's what I do. I like the fume board. So there's when I used to have just a few hives, I would shake each frame and brush them. Man, when you start getting around 10 hives, over 5 hives, and you start doing that out in the heat, it's too much. Especially if you've got them 2 and 3 supers high. So it's just a lot of work. So I went to fume boards. There's also bee escapes. A lot of people have asked me about bee escapes. Well, they work. I know a bunch of y'all probably watch Ian Stepler up there in Canada. I watch him too, but he's big time commercial. So while a lot of his stuff, and you can learn a lot from him, his practices don't necessarily fit a hobby operation. And but he's got great knowledge, and it's good to really listen to him and see some of the stuff he does and pick up ideas and tricks. But he uses bee escapes that got the tubes on them, and I like those. If I were to use them, those would be the ones I would buy. But people talk about the bee escapes, and I don't use them because it's double work. I don't want more work. So that would mean a week ago I would have had to pull all these supers off, put the bee escape in, and put them back on. That's double work to me. And if you're good with double work, hey, that's fine. You enjoy the bee escapes. They are easy. They are easy because you put them in, and then you come back a week later, you can flip them up, blow them out, and stick them on. Stick them on the trailer and go. But I don't want that 1 week. I don't want that 1 week of doing all that. Then you can blow them. A lot of commercial guys use blowers, don't do any fume boards, anything, just flip them up and blow them out. And I'm not against that. Some people don't like it, but it's part of what they do. It gets them out. They've been doing it for years and it's been working, and you know, that's another option. I don't do that one. I just don't, it doesn't, I don't have to. It's not, I don't have that many hives. So I can do 2 stacks at a time, fume board them, blow them, put them back on, fume board them, blow them, put them back on, and go. Takes me a couple hours, probably 2 to 3 hours when I'm by myself. Takes about an hour when I'm with somebody. Just depends how quick I can get the bees out. And that's just how I like to do my my harvests. Yeah, I don't, the bee escapes, I'd be willing to try them one year, but I'm not gonna come out here and lift all these mediums. I'd be like 15 mediums to move just to put them boards in. And for me, I just don't have the energy for it. So that's how I do what I do. Now something else I'll talk about. So what you'll see is I'll get all these things are going to be condensed down to just their brood chambers now. So the next thing will be, well, why don't you go put your wet supers back on? Well, I might on some of them. Like possibly that single will get a super just because they need space still. But for most part, they're going to get condensed down and stay down in these brood chambers. And I'm looking out right now. I see a little bit of clover in my field. I don't know how it hasn't burned off. There's some wild elderberry out there, but the flow is over. So if I condense them down, they should be fine at this point because there's no flow coming in. They'll start eating what they have in there as they need it. And I'll just condense them down and leave them. I'll take my wet supers and put them on my stand and let them clean them out. I won't go back and put supers back on this time of year. Because I want them to go ahead and start getting settled, because here in a few weeks we're going to go do some assessments, see who's strong enough, who's weak, who needs combining, who's not worth combining, and you know, get them all assessed and straightened out. I got equipment that's bad, I got a bottom board on this one that's rotten, that's got to be replaced, things like that. I'll go through and do all that, but I can only do a little bit at a time in the summer because of robbing. So I'll do a little bit in the mornings on, say, this stand, and I'll move to another stand, and we'll just go through and assess everything. And same with next door, same with the pond. So that's what's next. So I won't put the wet supers back on them unless I really just look at them and go, wow, you need some space, or it's too hot, or whatever. That's another thing I'll start doing as well. When I go to assess them, I'll begin probably next week putting beetle traps in. Now, beetles are going to get bad. They're starting to really pick up now. I'll put ventilation in them. I'll put a little stick in there and get some air going through them. And then, of course, like I say, in a few weeks I'll start evaluating them. But for now, let's pull more mediums. Let's go check these hives. Well, folks, that is a wrap for today. I know it's the same thing you saw the other day, but I said I'd go through my 2020 beekeeping season, and I'm doing my best to log almost every day. Everybody was about where I thought they'd be in 2 weeks. We went through 2 weeks ago and evaluated every hive. I had a couple uncapped that are now capped. I had a few still that weren't there, but I left them. You saw my comb honey. I had to leave it on. It's cross-combed pretty badly. But it's beautiful. You see how light and beautiful that was. So once that stuff is capped up good, I'll show you how I'm gonna do it. Basically, I flip that box upside down, separate the sides where there's any comb hook, and then just pull the box up off of the frames. Then I can trim them out. That's how I salvage a cross comb one. I've only had to do it one other time. For the most part, every year out of 5 years, I've had 2 years that have not this is the second time that's ever happened. Most of the years it comes out beautiful. Sometimes I get some underdeveloped comb, and I may only get like 25 to 30 squares out instead of 35 to 40. But this year I'm probably not going to get but one or two. But what I'll do with it is I'll make chunk honey. And honestly, I actually sell more chunk honey in a pint jar with honey in it and the comb in it than I do the square combs down here. The market is seems a little better, and I charge the same price. So, you know, either way, it's going to sell, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be a beautiful piece of honeycomb that the bees have made. That God has created such a creature, such a wonderful little insect that'll make such beautiful, tasty, natural, healthy honeycomb. Amazing. So that box is not a bust by any means. It just needs more time. And before anybody says anything, it was spaced properly. It's 10 frames in a 10-frame box. It was all spaced properly. It had foundation, not starter strips. It's just the Hive did that. Could have been that I was running a 9-frame box on top and a 10-frame on the bottom. I don't know. It could have been anything. Didn't matter. It's going to work out. We're going to put it in a jar. We're going to sell it, and somebody's going to enjoy it. And I'll probably enjoy a few pieces of it. So we left that on there. Got most everything else off. I think I left 2 other supers on that were... They had about 5 cap frames in them, but I'm not going to take that. I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to see if they'll fill the rest up in the fall. And then I think I'll explain it one more time. What I'm going to do, I took a bunch of medium capped honey frames, 2 boxes full, off of that abandoned hive. I don't know where that honey's been. I mean, I know when they filled it. They filled it here, but I don't know where that wax has been. Whatever they did, I don't know. So I put that in the freezer for fall feeding. So what I can do is allow those supers to stay on. Around October, when our goldenrod blooms, if it's a good stand of goldenrod, I got about 3 supers, one at the pond, at least 2 over here, maybe 3. I forget what I left. And I'll pull them. And what I'll do is I'll take those old frames and put them on there. And if I'm short any, you know, I'll see if the hive has enough honey in the bottom. There are about 1 or 2 hives I might put a wet super back on, but normally that's why I pull late. I pull late so that my supers are off and done. I don't put supers back on for the summer because down here it's a bona fide dearth until fall. And we're going into it now. So there's no need for them to be re-supered right now to make room. If they don't have the room now, they're not going to have it. That's why I don't worry about putting supers back on, because if the top is full of honey, they're set for the summer and most likely for the winter, because they'll be good to go. So I'll check them before I were to pull them in the fall. I'll check to make sure they have honey. And I'll pull those supers, and if they don't have honey, I'll put the frames, the unknown frames, on there full of honey. Either way, my bees will have honey over feed if I can help it. Now, the single brood chamber, I might have to feed that one. Never mess with the single brood chamber as far as harvesting off of it. I've had single brood chambers going in the winter, no problem. And I leave them alone, and they're usually full by fall, and I don't have to touch them. But that one I harvested off the top. It was an experiment. I just wanted to try it. So guys, now what I'm going to do, everything's in the honey house. It can sit in there for a few days. Here in the south, you don't want to let it sit too long. I won't even go into why, but it's not good. So we won't let it sit too long, but I don't know if I'll extract today or tomorrow. But I will make a video of it, and it won't be anything like what you saw at Mr. Ed's. And it's sufficient for me. And I got a new piece of equipment I'm really happy with, and I'll go over that with y'all. So let me get in here. Guys, I really appreciate y'all watching. And man, I tell you what, it's been a great ride, and you guys have really been supporting my channel. I appreciate it. And if you don't mind and you did like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, because that really is the best way to support the channel. And don't forget to share it with your friends, your family, anybody just enjoys watching bees. I know I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. This is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and a great weekend, and God bless y'all.